Welcome to Deal Makers. I'm Sarah Sharp. I'm a real mergers and acquisitions deal attorney who helps people buy and sell businesses every day. I'm going to tell you one of the biggest things that disrupts the deal process. Sometimes it makes it not go through at all. Sometimes it delays it by months or even years. And it's almost never on the top of mind for a buyer or a seller. And that thing is the commercial lease. So if you're buying a business and you're looking, it has a physical office space, you need to change the way you're looking at it and make sure that addressing the lease issue is absolutely top of mind the whole time. LOI going forward. Before I explain what I'm saying a little bit more, please like and subscribe to this channel. If you find it valuable, check out dealacademy.org where you could become the actual expert on a lot of these pieces of the deal process. So let's say that you're buying a business and it has an office space. There's a lot of reasons the landlord can tank your deal. And for some reason, it's just not top of mind for people. They know that they need to work out the bank for financing. They know they need to do diligence and interact with the seller so they can take the business over. They need lawyers to draft agreements, kind of this nebulous like contract concept. But for some reason, landlord negotiations falls way to the bottom of people's list and they forget about it well until the end of the whole deal process. And then for the first time, they approach the landlord and say, hey, can you sign some documents for me? I'm taking over the lease space. And they're completely shocked when the landlord says, who the bleep are you? I have no interest in letting this other person off the lease, and I'm not really interested in letting you into the space I own either. That can completely tank your deal. A lot of reasons for that. Some of them are obvious, right? If you're buying a business and people are coming in person and you're trying to retain those people without minimal disruption, changing where those people have to go to is a pretty disruptive event. So a lot of people are going to want to buy businesses and keep them in the same place. Another reason is if you're getting a bank loan, sometimes the bank is going to require that you keep the same office space and that you assume the lease. So if you're the seller, it's you assign the lease or you sublease. And if it's the buyer, you're assuming the lease obligations. That can be critical to your seller because often these commercial leases are incredibly oppressive and they're on the shoulders of the person running the business. It's a pretty big burden for them from an overhead perspective. And almost always they've personally guaranteed it. So if they are going to take $4 million for the sale of their business and it turns out they still have $20,000 a month lease payment they can't get out of, then, for the next 5 years, it's going to really tank the economics for them. So the lease is enormous. And that's a very normal thing that happens all the time in my deals. That will be the dynamic. I mean, these commercial leases are expensive. They're impossible to get out of. You have personally guaranteed them. So the landlord doesn't care if you've sold your business, and commercial real estate isn't hopping. So the landlord, even if they're decently reasonable people, might not be able to find anybody else to come in very easily and pay that same amount. So they're going to keep charging it to the seller. If that's going to happen, the seller might not want to sell. It's important to know that way at the beginning. So you're probably, I'm guessing there's at least a couple people who are watching this video and going, no, my seller said that he has a great relationship with the landlord. And oh my gosh, I've heard that 1 million times and it has panned out like once. They all think they have a great relationship with the landlord, but they're not asking this of the landlord. They don't know how the landlord's going to respond to this. So imagine it for a second from your landlord's position, right? Ooh, I'm a landlord. I have an office space. I have a lovely tenant who's been there for 4 years, caused me no problems. I love him. I have a great relationship with this guy. He is fantastic. I hope he stays there forever. All of a sudden, he tells me, next week, I'm selling my business and some guy you don't know or a woman you don't know is going to buy it. And then, they're going to pay you rent probably. I don't know exactly what their plans are and I have no control over it, but can you sign these documents? And the landlord thinks, why? You're obligated under this to continue paying me for the next 6 years. Why am I going to let you off the hook for that so I get the same amount that you were going to pay me from some less reliable stranger who I don't have any relationship with? Like, what's the motivation from the landlord's perspective there? You can imagine how hard it can be from a negotiation strategy perspective to negotiate with somebody who doesn't have you have nothing to offer, basically. Like, please let me stay at your place. I'm going to pay you exactly what that guy was paying you, and you don't know me from Adam, is a hard position to take when you're negotiating. It's necessary, but you've got to recognize that you don't have a ton of negotiation capital there. Additionally, for the 7A loan, often the bank is going to require a landlord waiver and release, or it's called a landlord waiver and subrogation agreement. Check it out on SBA.gov. You can see example versions of the way that people have to present these documents to the landlord to say, hey, in addition to letting me, a stranger, take over this lease, could you also sign this really intimidating document from the federal government that says that you have very little to any rights as it relates to the business if I stop paying everybody? I think it's most fair to categorize this as asking someone a favor. That is okay. Maybe the seller does have a great relationship with the landlord. That's wonderful. But saving all of this negotiation and favor asking till the very end is usually a bad idea. And it can really derail your closing experience. It can scuttle the deal entirely for the reasons I mentioned before. And it's just not something to put off. The sellers often will say, I don't want to tell my landlord till I'm really sure that the deal is going to go through. And that's a really good time to work with them on different ways that you can give that seller some reassurance that you're serious. You might want to sign your purchase agreement with very few contingencies. Sometimes people sign purchase agreements that say this is condition precedent. It's conditioned on the landlord agreeing to me taking over the space, so that at least the seller knows that you're guaranteeing you're going to buy the business if you can get financing, as long as the landlord lets you. There's different ways to bring that comfort level in, but saving your discussions and your negotiations and your favor asking of the landlord until the fourth quarter is just so inadvisable, and it will absolutely bite you about 50 to 70% of the time. If you found this valuable, please like and subscribe, or check out dealacademy.org and become the expert and avoid other ways that your deal might be scuttled or delayed.